What's going on, Elkian and Young and Alive listeners? Today I am joined with Brian, the owner of the worldwide brand Young and Alive. But before I get into the episode, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to hit that down button. It's the number one way you can support us. And without any further ado, enjoy the episode. So starting off, I just want to say I've been a fan of you guys for a really, really long time now, and it's so cool to actually have you on because I've been a fan of you guys for a while, and it's funny because I've actually used your content, your motivational content to, like some mornings to get me up to go for a run, like it's stuff like that. So it's really meaningful. So starting off, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate that. So, my name's Brian. Just a little background. I'm 22 right now. I'm about to turn 23. I just graduated college and I was a psychology major. And so,
Oh, nice.
yeah, so I'm just kind of, right now, I'm just kind of focusing on Young and Alive. And it's funny you say they when it really is just me right now. But hopefully we'll expand. Yeah, so I started this page around a year and a half ago. And I mean, so far so good, I guess.
Wow, that's awesome. So you're doing this on your own. It's just you.
Yeah, yeah. As of now, I definitely hope to branch ahead, but that's a little too soon to think about.
Hmm.
But that's definitely a vision I have for it.
Definitely. Well, like I have to say, I honestly didn't know it was just you, and you know why I'm saying that? It's because how consistently you guys are posting and how consistently you have, YouTube, everything. Like it's in my eyes, and I think in everyone else's eyes, it's so much content and it's so much that it seems almost impossible for one human being to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like I seriously have a lot of respect for that. That's very, very impressive, man. Like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's I think a big factor in that is that it doesn't really feel like work to me. It's kind of
Mm.
just like what I do. Like I
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
just like
yeah.
wake up like my mind is always thinking about Younger Alive. Like I'm always thinking about videos.
Hmm.
And so it's almost like second nature. And I guess that's a very important thing for people to find is that what comes to you is second nature, where it doesn't even feel like work. Obviously, there's stuff here and there. I mean, it's not all amazing all the time. There's some
Yeah.
hard stuff you got to do, but I just fell in love with it, and I think the results have shown for it too. And when it comes to it's like posting every day, like I said, it's not really like oh like I feel like posting today. It's more of like I wake up and I post. Like there's
Hmm.
no if and or buts about it. And that's honestly the secret to really getting some traction on social media or just traction in anything in life is to really be consistent and to take as many shots as possible. That's a big thing too, is because you never know what's going to hit and what's not. So being consistent makes you take more shots, which increases the chances of stuff going viral. And once again, that's just the case for everything.
Yeah, 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 definitely. And I've also heard that before, like consistency is key. I've heard some other people say that. And I mean, now I'm realizing it. And I think you are like the perfect example of it. You stayed consistent at what you're doing. And, like now look at you, right? You're like huge. Like it's insane how big you guys sorry, I keep saying that just because it blows my mind how big you are all over here. It's awesome. So where did this all start?
So it's actually crazy story. So it was actually kind of a mistake. Um, so I posted. So first of all, before I even started the page, I kind of had this vision for Young and Alive. I was thinking of, well, first of all, I've been in this. I've been a consumer of this industry for a while, like the self help and like trying to help people since 2018.
Awesome.
And I tried to do my own thing. I kind of made these videos that were kind of terrible that I hope will never see the light of day. Um, and so when I realized that that really wasn't the move, I was like, all right, what am I going to do from here? And this was 2020, so this was probably a couple months into COVID. I was in my junior year of college, and I figured that the approach was to build a personal brand, but I kind of figured that wasn't the approach yet. So I was thinking about names for a brand I could use, and what I did was I went on for some reason I just had the instinct to pull up Spotify and just shuffle like one of my playlists, and the song "Young and Alive" by Bozzy came on, and right away I was like, "That's it." I was like, "That's it."
That's
Like
awesome.
there was no hesitation. Like I knew right away that that was the name. And so, but here's the thing: this was 6 months before I even started the TikTok. So I pretty much like had this vision in the back of my mind, but I wasn't really taking action towards it. And then late 2020. So this was at the like halfway through my senior year of college. I ran into a video. It was a video of Bill Murray talking about how a painting saved his life. And I,
Hmm.
for some reason, when I saw that video, I like had like an instinct like I need to post this. And so I first posted it on under my personal name, but then I had a change of heart. Something like I had an instinct where I was like, maybe not, and because like it kind of having like videos like that under a personal name, like I just didn't really see it going
Yeah, yeah,
anywhere.
yeah, of course.
Um, so so what I did was I was like, oh well, I had this Young and Alive idea, so let's just post it again off of this account called Young and Alive, and I posted it, didn't expect anything of it. The early days, like this was late 2020, early 2021, I wasn't really expecting much of it. And then it was January, so probably like 3 weeks into it, I had a video go nuts. And and that was you see the video of that's like 24 million views.
Yeah, you have a couple
That's like
million,
yeah, it's like Tony
multi-million.
Robbins
Yeah,
saves a suicidal man in like
yeah, yeah,
less than a
yeah.
minute. I actually made that video. I That was a remake of the first video that blew up.
Oh
That
wow,
got I think 1.6 million likes, and this was like a month into me even starting the
wow,
page. And
that's
so
awesome.
that was a big moment for me. That was a very interesting moment. I remember it very vividly the day that that video was blowing up because um, I was driving from the gym at my school, and I remember I was like looking at like on like the red light, like looking at the video blow up. And then in the same car ride, I get a DM from Team Gary Vee saying that they wanted to sponsor one of my like they wanted
No
to.
way.
Well, don't get too excited because I mean I was hyped when I
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
first saw it, but it ended up being like $15. So like it wasn't like that big of a deal. But I was still hyped though. Like I
Yeah,
was like,
I
this is
mean,
sick.
hey, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm like a month into this and I'm already making money.
Yeah, seriously.
But then I remember it so vividly because in the same car ride home, like this is probably like 2 minutes after I saw that DM, I get a call from my mom saying that we're putting the dog down. So all of a sudden, I go from
No
very
way.
excited, very hyped to like, damn, like.
Yeah,
So
seriously.
that was a moment in my life where there was like a real turning point where I was like, I was graduating soon, and I kind of saw it as like this is like I kind of saw it as a sign like this is
Right.
time to grow up in a way, and my dog dying like even kind of like represented that too because that was like my childhood dog. Um, so it was just a real weird moment for me that I'm probably gonna remember for a long time.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, so and then after that, I kept at it, and we just kept the momentum going, and I'm trying to keep that momentum right now and bring it to the next level.
Definitely. I mean, it looks like. I mean, I'm betting off that. I mean, it's not. It's not happened for me. Like I haven't really blown up yet. We're getting there, you know. But I bet that that video that blew up for you must have been so motivational. I mean, obviously your dog dying, that's very upsetting. But like, I'm betting that motivation off that video, you know, of it blowing up must have got you going. Like
It was
that's
huge. It was huge.
yeah.
Yeah. This is a big thing too, where it's like sometimes all like you just need a taste, and that's all you need because I really didn't think that anything was going to work. Um, and when I got a taste of like, wait a second, maybe it can work. That's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to know, and I just doubled down from there. And so that's a good lesson to take is that like you have to try because and even if you're not motivated at first because it's hard to be motivated when it's not working like
Hmm.
that's just like how it works like no one's motivated when like you're not getting any views or
Yeah.
like you're not like making any money but when you get a taste of it, you don't understand like how that can have an effect on you and how like that can get you out of bed even more. And it like when we like the bigger and bigger we get, I've seen my motivation get better and better. And it's crazy, and a lot of luck goes into it too. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of luck. But you gotta shoot your shot and make sure that you can put yourself in those positions to be lucky. And also just try not to be so attached to it, you know?
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. So you said luck, right? That's something that I've heard a couple times, and I'm so like I understand it, but at the same time I don't. So you mean like lucky through like stuff blowing up and the right timing on posting stuff? Is that what you mean?
Well, luck in all aspects, yes, that's true. But also a lot of, I mean, I'm not, a lot of people can probably relate to this, but like in hindsight, like when you look back at like past stuff in your life, like even sometimes the unlucky stuff can end up being lucky. Like there's so many times, like there's so many certain circumstances where I look back, I'm like, if this never happened, then Young and Alive wouldn't be a thing.
Right.
If this small thing didn't happen, then this bad thing didn't happen, then Young and Alive wouldn't be a thing. So that's also another factor. And I mean, when it comes to luck, I think people also put too much of emphasis on it too. Like it's a factor, but it's not everything because obviously, um, if you suck, it's not going to go
Yeah,
anywhere. And
exactly.
so that's a big factor too. Is not betting on being lucky, is betting on how do I not suck and how do I get better. Um, and how you get better is by shooting your shot and trying and
Hmm.
failing.
Hmm.
So and then people don't understand like it could all change in an instance.
Yeah.
Like there's so many you hear so many stories of people who've been like underground like in any industry for years and years and years and then they just pop up like that.
Yeah. I mean, you look at anyone, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's in any industry.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The best one that I've seen is like Mr. Beast. Like he was the bet whenever I was listening to the Joe Rogan episode he did with him on a podcast, and it was like he was talking about how he's been doing it. He's been doing it for so long, and you would have never known that until like he blew up, right? Until everyone knew who he was. But it's like stuff like that. It's so crazy. It's crazy how much effort and stuff like that. And you also talked about how you started during COVID and all that kind of time, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was yeah, it was late 2020. So
Okay.
it wasn't I had the thought of Young and Alive
Mm-hmm.
beginning of COVID and then like 20 I mean that was terrible time like late 2022. Like
Got you.
I'm pretty sure it like the cases spiked really high.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because like I'm now finding like a lot of people who, have really started something. It was all during that time, because people just they had nothing else to do and they kind of just, they had these ideas and kind of branched off. But that's the thing is, right? You stay consistent at your thing and you stay disciplined to it. And that's the biggest thing is like I don't know, I feel like so many people have such great ideas. They just got to figure out a way to branch it like you have.
Exactly, and Younger Live wouldn't be a thing without COVID,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is it's crazy to think about how it just works out like that, you
Yeah,
know.
it's crazy. Yeah, well, same with me though, right? Is this podcast wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for COVID? The idea came out through there, so it's really, I mean, as negative as it was, it's crazy to see what all that time alone, everyone figured out their own way. But yeah, so a big question I have for you, because since you make all this very inspirational content and you publish it and blah blah blah, I want to know, were you inspired by anyone to make this type of content? Was there someone that you saw, or was there something like that?
I'm inspired by many people in the industry, and I was just very drawn towards it, you know. Like I even back in the day, I was just like very drawn towards it. Like it was almost like natural. Big inspirations are Tony Robbins is a big inspiration of mine. That's I think he's the goat when it comes to this field, and I think he's kind of the person that everyone chases.
100%.
And besides that, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of people that I'm influenced by. A lot of it is on the content too. Like you'll see a bunch of people on the content. But I think it's important to be inspired by others, but at the same time try to carve your own path. And so right now I'm trying to find the balance between using stuff that other people have used and like studying what other people have done, but also another big thing that I've been trying to do recently is, but how do I stand out? How do I create my own lane?
Mm.
And that's hard. It's hard to create your own lane. It's hard to take chances. It's hard to step out of the box. But if you look around at the most successful people, like not even in social media in general, it's the people that stand out. It's the people
Right.
that aren't like every other brand, that aren't like any other person. So people don't understand. Like they try so hard to be so similar to these other people that they think are successful, when actually standing out is the thing that's going to make you successful.
I just had that realization right now thinking about that. You after you saying that,
Yeah, yeah,
wow, it's so true because I feel like a lot of people, like even you saying that, a lot of people probably try and copy and do the same content that you do.
yeah. And I've already seen it. I've already seen it. That
Yeah.
that was also a very weird moment for me. Was
I bet.
when I would see the videos that I would post just everywhere on my
Yeah.
For You page,
Yeah. Seriously.
like the same content. Not that like it's my video because
Yeah.
obviously like technically I stole it too, but like
hmm
but I did see that video a lot before, and so that was a weird feeling, like seeing like the actual impact I had on
Yeah.
like
Seriously.
like that was crazy for me.
It is. No, it's definitely is. And yeah, after you saying that right now, like I'm even thinking like it is so true that it's about you look at anyone who's really blown up, it's all original. It's all it is. It's not yeah, it's very that is a it's a weird thing to wrap my head around, but it definitely it makes sense. That's very impressive.
Yeah, and it reminds me of a I just read a book called Purple Cow. It's by Seth Godin, and it's pretty much it's like a very legendary marketing book, and he pretty much talks about the concept of the purple cow, which is if you're driving down a street and there's like a field of cows, like and there's like all like the normal like black and white cows, and you
hmm
see a purple cow, like you're gonna like look at it,
Yeah.
like and you're gonna like notice it, and like that's the whole concept. That's
Mm.
like the whole like secret of marketing in this day of age,
Right.
especially since everything is so saturated and like everyone's trying to do it.
Yeah, seriously.
And so basically, he says that in the book that the best form of marketing is being different.
Mm.
It's obviously having good products and having good content and having all that stuff, but being different is the way that you really stand out. And so yeah, that's the whole thesis of the book: is don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to take chances.
No, I'm definitely gonna have to check out that book, dude. Seriously, like that's I've been looking for a book recently. I finished. I don't know if you know "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins.
Yeah, I've read that. I read that a while ago.
I just finished reading that, so I'm definitely gonna check out that book. That's sweet. And what's funny is I found the reason why I first reached out to you. I mean, first off, I didn't think you were gonna actually reply back because I mean you have such a big following. I assume like people like you, it's hard to find time to message out all your DMs. But I mean, you were able to find mine, so that's awesome. But I thought it was funny. The reason why is because you kind of have. I find your brand, Young and Alive, almost has the same idea as mine, Out Looking In, right?
Yeah,
It's like the whole idea of helping inspire. So that's why I thought it was like perfect, for you to come on here, which is, I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, but so you guys, sorry, again, I said you guys. It's just so crazy to me. But yeah, so you've branched out into everything, right? Like YouTube, I mean TikTok, YouTube, uh, Instagram. You have a clothing brand. Like, how did you do this? Like where did this all start? How did you get into the clothing brand? How did you start all that stuff?
so the clothing brand was just something that I mean, I felt Young and Alive was very marketable.
Right.
Um,
It definitely is. Yeah.
and I've been trying to do the clothing brand from the start. I've been trying different designs out and sending certain sweatshirts to influencers. And yeah, I think it's very I think it's also something that people can like all you need to see is Young and Alive, and I feel like that speaks for itself. Like, um, and not only that, we're gonna really start pushing stuff that says you're only young once, and that even
Yes.
more of an example of speaking for itself.
100%.
Um, and it's actually funny before we got on this podcast, I got a text message from someone who just made a video with the new sweatshirts. So I'm excited to post that soon.
That is sweet.
And yeah, and then when it comes to the YouTube and Instagram, I kind of realized that like I really should be posting on the other platforms. And I know there's a lot of value in a YouTube following too. I understand that as well. Because yes, a million followers or 1.3 million followers on TikTok is a big deal and like all that, but um, it's also a lot more of a big deal to have 1.3 million subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is the truth.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And with the YouTube, you can do so much with it.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
because short form content is very useful, but it's not, in my opinion, it's not. It's the future, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not sustainable for a brand. And there's only so much personality you can get out of short form content. And personality is huge when it comes to building a brand, and that's when you look at the biggest brands on social media right now, they have personalities,
Hmm.
and so that's where I'm trying to branch out to. Yeah, and we've seen a lot of success on YouTube lately. It
Yeah,
kind of threw me
seriously.
off guard.
Oh my
We're at
goodness, yeah.
almost over 100,000 subscribers right now, and so the goal from there is to start my own podcast
That's be awesome.
and to see where that goes, and just the overall vision of Young and Alive, is to almost be like the Barstool Sports of the self help industry. And what I mean by that is like you say, like it's,
Hmm.
I hope that you will say that in the future, because I hope that we'll have a team. Yeah, so that's the concept, and might already see on the page too, like where you're starting to utilize other creators' content, and I've sent so many DMs to people, it's crazy, trying to get their videos on my account. So that's where I'm trying to shift towards, is to make it more of a community,
Nice.
rather than just motivational videos, because I mean that can only take you so far.
Yeah, of course, of course. But I mean, I think one of my biggest questions for you is, how do you stay this discipline? I think everyone's asking that as well. You know, all your listeners know, like, how do you stay this discipline? How do you find the time to, do this? Like, I mean, you said you were going to school as well. Like, how do you find the time to do this?
I'm a psychopath, but it's yeah. So I've always been I don't want to say a hard worker, but I've always been very consistent. And in almost everything I do. I think to be honest, I mean, a lot of it has to do with guilt, because like when you're like which is not a bad thing. Like sometimes guilt can be very powerful, because it
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
you do what you got to do. And so the last thing I wanted, the last thing I want is to regret not giving it my all. So it's more of just like, and once again, the other aspect of it is like I just love it, and it's just what
Mm-hmm.
I do,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like second nature. And like after this podcast, I'm gonna go straight into making videos. And not only that, I'm just very, very passionate about the vision, and that's a huge part of building any company, building any brand, is the vision. Because if you're focused on the money, if you're focused on the fans, the followers, the clout, then that can only take you so far. But if you have an overall vision that's going to drive you every day, you're going to go much, much farther. Because the vision for Young and Alive and all this, it's not about me. It's about, the whole thesis of it is helping young people where society hasn't. And I mean, it's hard not to be motivated when you're thinking about that every day. And it's hard not to be motivated when you see DMs from people saying how much the content has helped. And yeah, so it's not, it's just second nature. Like it's just what I do, and I'm not going to stop.
Right, right. That's sweet. It's so cool. It's so cool. I I also am interested, like how, I hate to ask this, but like almost like a day in the life. Like I'm really interested to see because I you have such a huge following, and like I just don't like, could you even run down like a day in the life on how, you work with this stuff? Like could you just run that down?
I can, and the reason I just want to, before I go through it, the
Mhm.
reason why I can is because I think this is an important lesson, is that I have it scheduled, and I think that anyone should have their day to day life scheduled. Not that there shouldn't be days where you just do whatever the hell you want,
Right.
but it's a lot easier to know what you have to do if you have it in front of you. Like when I'm, for example, I pushed it back, but from 3 to 5 is my video making time, like
Mhm.
every day, no matter what.
Mhm. Right.
Um, and so when the clock strikes 3, I'm working on videos. Like there's no question. And so if when you have it in front of you and you're able to actually see what you're supposed to be doing at any given time, there's no overthinking, and that's where people get stuck. Right? Is when they're so overwhelmed with, I gotta do this, I gotta do like these broad things, like I gotta uh, build a social media page, I gotta start a business, but you really gotta focus on right now, what should I be doing?
Right.
And it's so important to just write that down and know what you should be doing on a day to day basis. Um, so right now, I'm in a weird part of my life because I just graduated college, and obviously, I'm living in Boston right now, paying my own rent.
Mhm.
Um, and rent in Boston is expensive.
Yeah.
Rent in any city right now is expensive. Life in general right now is expensive with inflation.
Very. Yeah.
But I am working a full-time job. I won't go into details of that just
Yeah,
for respect of the job.
of course.
But my shift starts at 6:45 a.m. So I like to have a lot of time in the mornings because I think that's another lesson is that people try like kind of cram their mornings in where they wake up, eat breakfast, go to work. But I try to have time so I'm not like rushing because how you start your day is so important. So it's so important just to wake up relaxed and like I have time to like do
Definitely.
whatever I got to do. So I wake up. I have a very strict morning routine that I do that I think is great. So I wake up around like 5:20, and then
Wow.
I work until 1:45, and then I go to the gym Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays during the work week right after the work, and then I go home, shower, and then I go straight to making videos. And then after that, I make dinner. And then after that, I go straight to working on the business side of things. And then after that, I either read or write. Just to obviously reading because I mean everyone knows the importance of reading, like the
Yeah.
learning part. But
Hmm.
the writing is very important for me too. Not only because it's something I want to do down the road, but it helps me organize my thoughts and it helps me almost not like script, but it makes me more prepared
Mm.
for like stuff like this where I have to talk. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
when you practice like
I've never thought
what
about
you
that. Wow.
say. Yeah, so that's just a practice that I
Hmm.
have. And and then after that, I just go to bed and do it all again in the morning. The weekends are different,
Of
um,
course. Of course.
and I do try to do something every day. Obviously, it's important to find that time to relax, and that's a whole other thing too. Is like just like I said, I have specific times in the day where like if it's five, I'm doing this. If
Right.
it's this, I'm doing that. Like there's also times in my week where it's this time you're resting, it's this time you're sleeping. That's also extremely important too, because a lot of the times we can get so caught up in the work that we forget to rest. And so when you schedule out those like time blocks that you're going to rest, like it makes sure that you actually do it. And
Hmm.
it's also nice too because if you're resting and you like know you have like you should be doing something, like it's not really rest because you're just anxious and like you're like stressed out about the stuff you should be doing. But when you have like a guilt-free time block like every week, we're like, this is when I'm doing nothing but whatever the hell I want to do. It's guilt-free.
Well, another thing I was also going to ask whenever you're talking about that is a lot of people nowadays, they struggle with screen time, right? Like people are on their screens 24/7, a lot of teenagers, stuff like that. As someone like yourself, the screen is basically your social media is what you're building, right? And that's what you're doing. Or do you try and minimize your screen time? Do you how does that work? How's your screen time? Because I mean, obviously editing and working and stuff like that, that's different, right? But I'm saying like besides that, just scrolling on TikTok whenever you have free time. Do you minimize that time?
Well, like you said, it kind of is my job. Like
Right.
it's
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
even like honestly scrolling through or even finding content
Mm-hmm.
is it's like half the game for me. Like I have to make sure I have enough content to go for the week. I mean, I was posting one video a day, but I'm going to be posting two videos a day, so that's especially
Wow.
relevant now. So I'm going to need to make sure I'm really disciplined about finding the content.
Definitely.
Um, when it comes to screen time, the thing about and I feel like a lot of people with like full-time jobs that also are doing something on the side can really benefit from what I'm about to say is that when you're working a full-time job, like it makes the time that you're not working on your full-time job extremely valuable. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't tend to get distracted right now because I know like because I'm working for 7.5 hours a
Right.
day,
You're so
the rest
busy.
of the day I
Yeah.
better be busting my ass because that's the only time I have. And if I want to work, I better be focused. And so it's not hard for me to stay focused personally because I know that half the time I'm at work or sleeping or with friends. And so that free time I have, like I better like it's like I gotta be focused.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've really gotten better at. So that's just an overall lesson for anyone that's working a full time job right now or is frustrated about like if you're in school or if like
Mm-hmm.
you have other time commitments. I believe that there's value in every experience, and even that stuff is valuable too because it makes you really prioritize the free time that you have. And not only that, it's, I mean, the thing about having a full-time job too, it's a consistent paycheck, and that's nice because it takes some pressure off of everything else.
Hmm.
And that when you take pressure off yourself, you're more likely to take more action, and that action will lead into more results. So
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. It's very impressive, man. Very, very impressive.
yeah. But with that being said, I would love to quit my job and do this full time. That's the goal right
Really?
now.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
goal.
the
Yeah.
goal. Okay.
Yep.
Well, talking about goal, I'm interested. What's your end goal? What's the goal of all of this?
Basically to build a brand and build a community that like I said, like the best way I could put it is try to be like the Barstool Sports of the self-help industry. And to really help young people where I personally believe society has failed when it comes to not only mental health but just navigating being young because it's tough. I mean, I'm 22, almost 23. I'm going through it right now, like the same exact stuff that everyone else is. It's hard, and I feel like there's no one really guiding us when it comes to the mental aspect of it all. Um, and I just I really want to be that hub that young people can go to. And it's like a lot of people. It's hard. It's harder to relate. Obviously, we should listen to the older people. You should listen to your elders, obviously, and you should really take what they're saying seriously and take that advice. But I think that personally, that it's a lot when you hear that stuff coming from people that's your age, it's a lot more relatable, and you're able to relate to the content more, which is able to um, kind of leave that ingrained in you, whatever message you're trying to send. So
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of value in hearing other people that are your age um, helping you out and stuff.
Definitely.
Because especially too, there's a big generation gap. I mean, we, how old are you? Are you
I'm 15.
you're 15? Oh, jeez, I'm like 8 years older than you. That's crazy. Yeah, so like you grew up with social media. I grew up
Yeah.
in social media, and it's a whole different world
Hmm.
than growing up. Whatever the hell people did before, that beats me. Um, yeah, so I'm just trying to be that hub of young people helping young people.
That is seriously sweet. That is so cool, man. I cannot wait. I mean, already right now, I look at you as that hub, and I'm sure a lot of people that do, but it's so cool to see that you are still driving for so much more. It's so inspirational.
Yeah,
Seriously, man.
and I got a lot of work to do. Like I know you say all this, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And it's a big mountain to climb. And so um, and hopefully over these next 6 months and year, we're gonna be really turning it up a notch, and hopefully that will result in some good stuff happening.
That is great to hear. I always end off my episodes asking, what's your best piece of advice? And this one I'm super excited for. So, yeah, what is your best piece of advice?
Oh yeah. So this I can I give two? Is that possible?
Yes, go ahead.
The first one I have is more geared towards people that are younger. Both pieces of advice can be used towards people that are younger. But a big turning point in my life was when I was around 20 years old, and I was just overall like we all go through this where we're not satisfied with where we are, or we're
Hmm.
disappointed with where we are, or we don't feel like we're doing enough, or we don't feel like we're almost like good enough. And I kind of had a realization that like the reason for all of that isn't because I personally suck. It's because I'm 20. And there's a big difference between those two things, right? Between saying like, no, I'm just young and stupid and I suck. Because the reality is like you can't if you're young, like you can't expect to just walk through life flawlessly because you're new to this life. Like just like you there's like any other thing you try for the first time, you're gonna suck. Like when you first started walking, like you fell like 5,000 times before
Yeah.
you could walk. And so so it's so important for people that are younger to understand that like you're not going to get this life right away. And
Hmm.
so many people though, the problem is that they just assume that they suck. But maybe you're just young and maybe you just need some more years under your belt. And when I made that realization, it was able to that really took some heaviness off of me. It made me walk through life a lot lighter and take action that results in the stuff that's going on right now. Um, and then the second piece of advice came from probably one of the most important books I ever read. It's called Unleash the Power Within by Tony Robbins. And there's a quote in there that goes, "You could be winning, but feel like you're losing because the scorecard you're using to grade your life could be unfair." And basically, to break that down, pretty much like you could be winning in life, but you could internally think that you're losing because of the expectations you have for how your life should be. And so you need to really understand that, um, like a lot of the times, like you could be doing a lot better than you think,
Yeah.
but it's just the scorecard is unfair. And the way you're stacking yourself up against other people is unfair. And social media is
Yeah.
because, I mean, you're constantly seeing all those comparisons. And so, yeah, you could be winning, but feel like you're losing because the scorecard you're using to grade your life could be unfair.
Wow. Wow. I feel like I should give you a round of applause. Seriously. Like these have been, I'm being honest, the best piece of advice I've ever received throughout of any of my episodes. This is like,
Yeah, I don't know why
wow.
I don't know why no one, like, this is the first time I heard of it. When I read that, when I read the book, I don't know why more people aren't talking
It
about that
actually
because
blows my mind.
it really did change my life. It really
Oh
did.
my goodness. Wow. That is like, even thinking about it right now, that's so crazy. Yeah. That's like, it's advice that like a lot of people don't talk about or don't even think about because everyone's just focused on like the advice where it's like, oh, just keep pushing, you know? Like it's sometimes stuff that's like that, you know, not as much, not as heavily on like keep going, like keep pushing. It's more just like, you know, like understand because like relax and, you know, like all that, like that is amazing. That's probably, honestly, I'm going to use that for the rest of my life. That is,
Of
wow.
course, yeah, of course, and not only the thing about that is we talked about how, I mean, the other advice where it's not that I sucked, it's that I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
How that brought some lightness to me, how that made me take more action and be more confident. And that scorecard thing did the same thing
Mm-hmm.
because I realized that, well, maybe I'm okay, and maybe it's just the way I'm grading my life is just not fair. Um, and that changed my life. And I really I hope to deliver that message and help other people with because I know a lot of people are going through that right now
Oh, definitely.
of not feeling like they're winning, but when they really could be,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been amazing. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you. I'm excited to see what you have planned next. I'll definitely keep in touch.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And make sure to go check out Young and Alive. All of their links will be in the description below. And yeah, without any further ado, that's a wrap.